Welcome back to It's Fire for Me. I'm Jesse, and today I have another reaction video for you. While I was surfing through YouTube the other day, I came across this video titled 5 Problems with the FIRE Movement. Now you gotta believe that caught my eye. So of course, I clicked on it. Now this was my first introduction to Jack Buchanan's channel, and after watching it I thought it might be an interesting reaction video to do, and so I went ahead and reached out to him to make sure he'd be okay with that. He went ahead and said it was okay, so here we go. I'll go ahead and link the full video below so you can go check out his channel and watch the whole video, and we'll just put in the clips here that I want to discuss. I do think it's important to note that Jack is not planning to bash the FIRE movement altogether. He just has a few concerns on some areas that he thinks people get a little confused in the FIRE movement, and he wants to draw some attention to him to make sure other people don't have the same mistakes. So let's get into seeing what he has to say.
First up on our list, we have problem number 1. People focus way too much on getting to retirement and not actually focusing on what they're going to do when they retire. They don't focus on what they're retiring into. What are you actually going to fill your time with once you aren't filling it with work? I know some people are going to get a little mad about what I'm about to say, but believe it or not, you do not actually want to be doing nothing all day. Studies have shown that for people who retire early, there is an increased risk of mental and physical issues than their counterparts who are keeping busy all day. This is basically because when you aren't getting pushed to grow, you become lethargic. Your body starts to just get lazy and you start actually wearing away. If you're not actually pushing yourself and you're not doing at least something with your life, you're going to start to rust and eventually you're going to start to wear away. The way you actually fix this problem is you go into your financial planning with the end goal in mind. Don't just say a big number because it seems safe. Actually look at the life you want and factor out what is that going to cost me every single year, and then plan your budget accordingly so that you're not actually losing sight of your goal.
Alright, so this first tip, as he started to get into it, I was getting ready to go ahead and lean into him and tell him why he was wrong. But then as he got to the end of his point, I realized what he's saying is people need to have a why. And you know me, I'm very big on people having a why and making sure you start with that why and know what your why is for retirement. Not just know why you want to get to retirement, but know why and what you plan to do in retirement. So I agree with him on this point. I think it's important that you know why you want retirement, what you plan on doing when you get to retirement, and then you can make a plan on how much it's going to cost you to get there. Because if you just pick an arbitrary number like he said, and you shoot for that, and then when you get there you haven't really planned to make sure that's going to work, you might end up finding out that that number isn't correct. So make sure you do all the planning ahead of time so that you don't end up regretting your retirement plan. Let's see what he has for number 2.
Moving on, we now are at problem number 2. FIRE is very hard to achieve for the average person.
Okay, we just got into this. I haven't listened to the whole thing yet, but I already disagree. I don't think FIRE is hard to achieve for the average person. I think the average person can achieve it if they want it, and I think that we can all achieve it, and we shouldn't be putting out that mantra that it's hard to achieve, because I think we're going to push away the people who think that it might be hard and then they click off the video and they don't see that all they have to do is put in some effort. Well, yes, it's probably going to be harder than others. It doesn't mean it's not doable, and I think he's going to get to that point here, but I just wanted to stop and pause for that second here. So let's see what else he has to say about it.
The median American income is only $60,000 per household, and frankly, that is not enough money to retire if you have a family and expenses. Don't get me wrong, a family doing that could absolutely still retire and take advantage of all these strategies in the FIRE movement, but you're likely not going to see people retiring in their 30s and 40s if they're only making $60,000 a year as a household. The fact is that in order to achieve financial independence early, you're going to need a very big savings wedge. And so up here we have your income and your expenses over time, and in the middle we have the wedge. Basically, the wedge is just the difference between your income and expenses because it is the money you're saving every single year. So if you make $50,000 but then you only spend $20,000 a year, you have a $30,000 wedge which you can then invest with. So again, the goal here is to get as big of a wedge as possible, and the best way to do that is to either lower your expenses or increase your income. Best case scenario, you can only reduce your expenses by 100%, but you could easily triple your income over the course of your career. So if you're somebody out there who's looking to increase your savings wedge, really try to focus on income. Try to look at extra income streams and a whole bunch of other stuff.
He's talking about how much easier it will be for higher wage earning people. And yes, obviously, if you make more money, it's going to be easier to live on less and save more. But I think if you are used to living on less to begin with, and you can focus on ways to work on side hustles and improve your income in other ways, and maintain that low cost of living once you start your FIRE journey, I think you're going to find that it's actually easier to get to FIRE because you already are used to that lower lifestyle. If you come into FIRE where you've already got this high income wage, you've probably also got a high income cost of living, and you almost have to feel like sacrifice to lower your cost of living in order to be able to afford to live on FIRE. So now you're saying, okay, I'm living on 80% of my income, 90% of my income, 100% of my income, and I want to drop that down to 50% so I can do this financial independence journey. I think that's harder to do and harder to make those sacrifices than it is to say, I'm using 100% of my income, I can lower it by 10%, but I can do these side hustles to double my income and be able to achieve it faster and just not increase my cost of living as my income goes up. So I almost think it's going to be easier for the person making less to achieve financial independence because they're already used to a lower cost of living. Now, obviously, people in financial independence aren't always going to be living a low cost of living lifestyle, but I do think that is common for the financial independence retire early strategy, and so I think that's where a lot of people head towards. So I'm going to stick to my guns here that I don't think it's going to be harder for the people making less money to achieve financial independence. I think you almost have a leg up. Let's see what he has for number 3.
Problem number 3. It is very hard for a lot of people to get their original jobs back if things don't work out.
If you have to go back to work because maybe you estimated your FIRE number too low, you're not going to be able to get your original job back, is what he's claiming here. And yeah, that's probably true, but you probably don't need to get your original job back. You probably only need to make a little more money to boost your number up a little bit higher. Maybe you just need to cover your expenses for the couple more years and let your interest build another year or two. When you're up at the top end of your interest growing and you're at the $1 million+ mark, it's going to grow quite rapidly. So another year or two of growth is going to make a big difference. So if you just have to go work at Home Depot or somewhere and make some basic income to cover your cost of living for a year, I think you're going to find that you can find a job just easy enough to be able to cover your cost of living and increase your FIRE number to be able to achieve this. So I don't think you need to go back to your original job.
If you mess up your calculations or there is something huge out of your control, you can really get screwed, and going back into the workforce is usually not as easy as when you were originally there. Another huge thing to consider is that your last 10 years of employment before retirement are usually your highest earning years, so what you really want to make sure is that you don't quit too early. If this means you give yourself an extra 2 years of work to build a better security blanket and let your investments grow a little bit more, that's absolutely fine. It is better than having to go back in 5 to 10 years to work another 3 to 4 years. So yeah, this one is actually a pretty straightforward fix. The main way you actually correct for this is to give yourself a bigger savings buffer. Instead of just getting to financial independence, hitting your FI number, and quitting, maybe actually go to 1.25 to 1.5 times more than what you actually need.
Now, in his comment on giving yourself a little bit bigger saving buffer, I think we can get in this problem of always thinking, well, maybe we need just a little bit more. Maybe we need to grow one more year, and we never actually bite the bullet and retire early and enjoy all this effort we put into this financial independence journey. I don't disagree. Make sure your number is big enough and even a little bit bigger than you think you need. That's fine. But don't get stuck in this habit of continually thinking, well, maybe I just should do one more year just to make sure I've got enough. Trust your numbers, live on your numbers, plan for your numbers, and execute your numbers. Let's see what he has for number 4.
Problem number 4 for the FIRE movement is that it can vilify working. Now, this is obviously not applying to everyone. A lot of people really do like working a 9-to-5 job while they're trying to achieve their goals. So I'm not saying that everyone in the FIRE movement does it, or even most people, but I specifically see a lot of the entrepreneurial types doing this. I am sure almost anyone who is watching my videos on YouTube has seen something online where there's this entrepreneur or this big live free guy who's basically saying 9-to-5 jobs are soul sucking, they're terrible, go start your own business, be your own boss, and all this other stuff, all your problems will get solved. That's really not the case for most people. If everyone was a business owner, we would all be out of business. And again, if all you're doing is thinking about how terrible working is, that can really be a mental drag on you for the next 20 to 25 years of work before you get to financial independence. Specifically, if you're just going every single day to this job and you're hating it and you're just actively unhappy, that is going to lead to a lot of depression, anxiety, and mental issues that could also build up, and then by the time you get to retirement, you're already burnt out and you're basically the shell of your former self. That's not what anyone wants.
I'm having a hard time putting myself in the headspace of somebody who isn't an entrepreneur, who doesn't want to work a regular 9 to 5, because that's not me. I am more entrepreneurial. I am someone who would love to start my own business, who would want to not go to work their 9 to 5. And I think it's very common, whether you're in the FIRE movement or not, to want to find ways to get out of working the regular 9 to 5. That's why the gig economy is so popular. People don't want to go to a 9 to 5 job. They want to set their own schedule. I agree that I'm sure there's people that want structured work. They want to be able to get up, know they're going to a certain place, working for a certain amount of time, and going home. But I don't think these videos are getting out to those people who are going to be vilified, because if they feel that way about their job, they're probably not looking for these videos that are talking about how to get out of that job. So I don't think they're going to have this targeted mindset towards them. I could be wrong again. This isn't my lifestyle, so obviously the videos that are targeted towards me are the ones that are to help you get out of your job and get to a life where you're not working a 9 to 5. So I don't know, maybe everybody's getting those same videos and some people are starting to hate their job because of it, but I'm not 100% sold on this fact. Let's see what he has to say for number 5.
Number 5. People in the movement can miss out on so much of life while they're trying to get to retirement. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but obviously only focusing on saving, investing, and getting to financial independence, that can absolutely kill your social life, relationships, and your own personal happiness because you're not doing anything else other than focusing on this goal. A lot of times people in the movement will look up once they hit retirement and look around and they're like, oh, I don't really have that many friends and I don't really know what to do with myself anymore.
Okay, so this final point of making sure that you enjoy life on your way to financial independence, I do think that that is a good point to make, and I do think there are people out there who are so driven and focused on financial independence and sacrificing every possible moment they can to get there that they do miss out on things. But that's not what I'm hoping to foster in my channel. I'm hoping to foster a way for people to enjoy the life they're currently living while still making choices that will get them to financial independence and possibly retiring early if that's the goal that they want to make. So I don't think he's wrong in this point, and I don't think that this point is a wrong point to make, but I do hope that my channel becomes one that helps people understand how to enjoy life now while getting themselves into financial independence. So hopefully we can find that balance as we build our financial independence journey together. Alright, so I think Jack had some very good points here today, and I really encourage you guys to go check out his channel, check out the topics he has to share on. I think he's got some good content that we can all learn from. And thank you, Jack, for letting me do this reaction video to your video, and I hope you enjoyed seeing how I interpreted your comments. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and tune in for Wednesday's video as it's a new month, so we have a new net worth update. See you then!